PB&GB is probably my favorite object show I have ever seen. For those of the unenlightened, PB&GB is an object show following Paintbrush and Gum Yum Berry living through their daily lives. It could be best described as a sitcom, since there is not too much story to be found, and basically no overarching plot. I highly recommend watching the show before this video though, as I will be spoiling a lot of it. While the show will be enjoyable regardless, I highly recommend watching the entire show first just to experience Blind. So you have been warned. I think the best part of the show is easily the main duo, PB and GB. If these two were not entertaining characters, nor played off each other well, the show would fail. Luckily, Jonestar was able to make these two some of my favorite protagonists in not just an object show, but in all of fiction. The two just have this bubbly aura around them that makes them so enjoyable to watch. The way they talk and interact with each other is always so much fun. You can really feel their friendship and how much they get along. Simply listening to the two talk about anything is entertaining. The character writing makes the show what it is. The comedy is almost always driven by the characters and their personalities, especially Gum Yum Berry. Compared to other object shows with huge casts, PB&GB is entirely minimal, and it's better for it. Giving such focus on only two characters for the most part allows them to feel like actual people, unlike the stereotype-ridden landscape of shows like BFDI. Not that BFDI is just stereotypes and one-note jokes. I would actually argue that it does a good job avoiding this, but to say that every character has even half the development as Paintbrush and Gum Yum Berry would be a total lie. Let's take a look at a few of my favorite episodes to try and explain why this show is so good. Episode 1, titled Oh No, a Game Thief, follows the two as they pick up a pre-ordered game from a game store before it gets stolen by a sexist gamer. It's such a simplistic plot that works wonders. Here's the entire plot structure. They go to the store and the game is stolen. They harass Nerdbook for the game and they fail. Then they go to his house and get his mom to give them back the game, and then they finally play it and it sucks. With such a simple plot structure, all that is left to do is make it a charming and funny experience, and it works. The store clerk being unhelpful, Nerdbook's voice and blatant sexism, and the persistence of the main two. It may be short, but I can't deny that they utilize the 4 minutes very well. Further in the series, you have episode 9, Enter PB and CB, which opens on the two hanging in the community rec center, practicing for Paintbrush to get a roller skating license. This is when Paintbrush and Clutie Schnootyberry show up and claim the place as their own. Basically, they are Paintbrush and Gum Yum Berry, but evil. Also, Paintbrush is a lesbian, so she is very relatable. This leads to a duel of challenges for the right to use the building. This is a fun montage of different challenges where ultimately, Paintbrush and Gum Yum Berry just stand up to the two, saying they are allowed to be there regardless of what the two say. This works as PB and CB are impressed with them standing up to them. Then they make out for the longest gay kiss in object show history. Truly a historical moment. This episode is once again pretty simple, but just having fun characters like Paintbrush and Clutie Woody whatever the heck is super fun. The show keeps this constant, semi-realistic tone, with relatable situations of some people literally gatekeeping an area, but also the little cone guy grows thick thighs for some reason, and it's great. The art style is very charming, while the animation itself is super minimal, with only a few fully animated moments. The assets and backgrounds are great. They all have this almost paper cutout look to them, similar to South Park, and it looks great. This also extends to the character designs. PB and GB are obviously amazing, with strong silhouettes, but basically every character here is well designed. With this weird skate clerk person and even Nerdbook, the designs are simple but convey exactly the kind of voice and personality each character has. And don't even get me started on Paintbrush and Clutie Duty Shooty Yellow Candy Girl. Though there is one final thing that makes this show so good in my opinion, and it can easily be shown through one episode of the series. Pene is the 5th episode of the show, and it is probably the most important episode of the series, all things considered. This is an episode I highly recommend going into blind for, so please go watch the show first if anything up to this point has sounded interesting. While I'm waiting for you to watch the series, I guess I can say this. Subscribe, please. I want to reach 1K because Trollsy is kicking my butt at gaining subs, and I doubt that we'll beat him, but please subscribe, and go watch my own object show, Object After Dark. Anyway, the 2 leads are transgender. This is great, obviously, since trans people are great, and the 2 are great representations for trans women. All of this specifically comes to a head in Pene, and I think it is done really well. This episode follows Paintbrush and Gum Yum Berry as they run into an old friend named Pene, and it tackles the situation many trans people get in where they encounter people from their pre-transition life. In this case, though, rather than the old friend being supportive of the person, she is firmly against them. I have a weird relationship with content like this. I'm not uncomfortable per se. My experiences with coming out to old friends and peers have typically gone well. It's more so that I personally do not always enjoy stories exclusively about the struggle of being a minority. I like stories with aspects of that, but not always as the main focus. That being said, and considering that this is literally an object show, this is great. The tension grows as the 2 come out to Pene, with her not even attempting to take them seriously and invalidating both of them as women. Gum Yum Berry of course tries to counter this idea, stating that they are women, and what they are doing is not deceitful or creepy. They just discovered themselves more, which is true, but no matter what, Pene just pushes back more and more, referring to Paintbrush as he, as PB slowly grows more and more uncomfortable. It's the kind of bigotry that really hurts. Someone who you thought might accept you and is just being mean even though they think they're being nice to you. Pene literally says,
I mean this in the nicest way possible. You 2 are men, you act like men, and would always be men.
I have been through this kind of shit with some family and friends, and it fucking hurts. You want the people in your life to accept you. You want them to listen even if they don't completely understand you. And so many people claim to listen without actually soaking in what you're saying, just avoiding the hypothetical idea that you can be a different gender than you previously identified with. The colors of the background start to become darker and more blue as Paintbrush especially gets more distraught. Gum Yum Berry is obviously the more confident of the 2, and Paintbrush ends up leaving the room to hide away in the bathroom. I mean, say what you will about Nerdbook, but at least him being sexist is gender inclusive. This all causes Paintbrush to question her own identity, and it leads to a nice scene of Gum Yum Berry helping Paintbrush work through it. I've been in Gum Yum Berry's position many times before, having to help validate one of my friends who is scared they aren't actually who they say that they are. And I can't lie and say that the scene was perfect, but it was as good as I imagined it could have been. Anyway, they stand up to her and then feed her some penne pasta, and she runs away in horror. Undoubtedly, this is the most dramatic episode of the series, and for many, maybe the best one. While I obviously love this episode for taking such a hard subject matter, I still prefer the generally lighthearted layout of the other episodes. I think overall, PB&GB is a great show. It may not have the best animation in the world, and the production value is pretty low, but if you want a fun show that actually has a good chunk of episodes, and will be appearing on my object show, Object After Dark, then I can't think of a better show to watch. Well, that was me, Golden Archetype, and stay gold, everyone. Stay gold.